Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm very excited to get to test out the newly buffed fast move on Suicune, and that is Ice Fang. Suicune previously had Snarl, a move with good energy generation, but basically zero fast move damage ever. And this meant that Suicune was never really able to farm things down. So I'm excited to see what it can do with a fast move that can actually have a little bit of fast move pressure. For the team, I'm running Suicune on the lead, Malamar as the safe switch, and Heliolisk as a closer. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and take a look at Suicune in action in the Ultra League. Hopping into the first match, leading Suicune into Galarian Weezing. Weezing is going to be striking first in this matchup. They bait with a Brutal Swing, and that does almost no damage to the Suicune. The fact that they're spamming out Brutal Swings here tells me they're on Overheat. One thing I'm noticing right off the bat is they safe switch into Feraligatr and immediately get hard countered by the Heliolisk, is the pacing on Suicune does appear to be slow. Here, I am going to make a Parabolic Charge. Parabolic Charge, of course, has a 2/3 chance to boost my defense. Parabolic Charge is going to be shielded. I do get the defense boost. This is not going to do a lot for me, as the Shadow Claws were already double resisted, but I will definitely take it. Here, I believe I have to throw this, otherwise they could make it to another Hydro Cannon, so I'm forced to expend that energy. Back in comes the Weezing. Weezing not going to risk trying to farm down a boosted Heliolisk. Instead, they're going to go for the Brutal Swing, and I'm going to bring in Malamar. I do want an energy advantage on the Malamar because I already have some nice energy on the Suicune. This way, I can cover my options since I don't know what their final Pokemon in the back is. In the back, it's going to be Galarian Moltres. I'm going to fire off the Superpower and then look to send in the Suicune. Suicune is going to be firing off the Ice Beam. Ice Beam would hit for super effective damage. Opponent is going to commit the shield. Moltres is in a lose-lose position here. If they Ancient Power, it doesn't KO, but if they Brave Bird, their defense is reduced by 3 stages, and that means they now cannot survive the Superpower. Superpower into the Moltres, picks up the KO. In comes the Weezing. Weezing does get to a move, but they're short of the energy needed for an Overheat, and a Brutal Swing, not gonna cut it, as Malamar gets the farm down and takes the win. We move to the next match. This is the best possible lead. Suicune into Zygarde. Opponent safe switches into Miltank, and I have a pretty good response available as I get to send in Malamar. Malamar is going to do quite well against Miltank. Miltank is going to fire off an Ice Beam, but that does not do a ton of damage to the Malamar. Malamar massively over farming, and I mistime it. I let an entire rollout sneak through for free. That is just very poor gameplay on my part. My opponent is going to fire off another move. They go for the Ice Beam once again, so that does get the Malamar pretty low. This time, I do get the timing a little bit more accurate as I go for the foul play, and my opponent will commit the shield. I'm able to make it to a Superpower. Are they going to double shield for switch advantage here? The answer is yes, they are going to double shield. And this is a little bit tricky. I'm worried that they're double nuke, so I'm not going to bring in the Suicune at the risk of getting Thunderbolted. Instead, I'm just going to bring in Heliolisk. Heliolisk tanks the Ice Beam, gets a farm down. In comes the Zygarde. I'm going to bank energy, send in the Suicune. In the back is Feraligatr. And this is just such a miserably bad matchup for Suicune. I'm up 2 shields to 0. And that's basically the advantage that I need as Suicune if I'm going to overcome this matchup. Feraligatr is going to fire off a charge attack. It is going to be the Hydro Cannon, and I will commit the shield. I will be able to make it to a second Scald, but a second Scald still will not KO from this health range. Hydro Cannon is going to connect. I will be able to get the Feraligatr low, which is good, and I do have some energy stored on the Heliolisk. I do get them low. Opponent switches into the Zygarde, anticipating that I would try and go for the combo play, but I did not have plans to do so. Bulldoze does not get the debuff. I can farm up and now look to connect with the Ice Beam. This is double super effective damage onto the Zygarde. Down goes Zygarde. In comes Feraligatr. We get the farm down, and with a 2-0 shield advantage, we are able to take the win. Suicune versus Shadow Golurk in the next match. Opponent safe switches into Drapion, and this team is pretty soft across the board to Drapion. I don't have a hard check, so I'm kind of forced to stay in with the Suicune, tank a Crunch, look to fire off a Scald, and again, the pacing is so noticeable here. Suicune, when you compare it to something like Drapion, where Drapion is spamming out Crunches every 5 Poison Stings, I believe it's 9 Ice Fangs to the first Scald, and that just ends up feeling very, very slow. I will be firing off the Breaking Swipe. Opponent more than happy to no shield because they're going to get monster farm with the Golurk. Golurk is now going to be hit with a Breaking Swipe, but they have no reason to ever shield this. That's not going to do a ton of damage. They do get another Mud Slap as well, and even though I did win lead, things are honestly not looking great for me. I bring in the Suicune, they get to fire off a charge attack. I will let this go. Shadow Punch is going to do quite a bit of damage. In the back is Miltank, and I'm actually facing my own team. The Golurk Shadow Drapion Miltank team is the team that I used last season to hit rank 6 in the world in the Ultra League, and it is definitely a very strong team. And it looks like, despite the fact that I had pretty decent alignment into it, I think I'm actually going to end up losing this game. I do go for the foul play because his superpower would not KO, and now I'm going to fire off foul play number 2, and my opponent is going to begin to start shielding. At this point, I have unfortunately lost track of the energy on the Miltank. They're going to fire off the Body Slam. They're firing off another move, and I will actually commit a shield. That's going to be the Body Slam. Opponent, they have another one loaded as well. The amount of energy they have on this Miltank is absolutely mental. I switch into Suicune trying for a snipe. I don't get the snipe, and I don't get the energy needed to make the Scald. And unfortunately, this is just going to be a loss. Whereas I guess my team from last season is still very, very strong, as I do lose to it. Suicune versus Steelix. Now, this is a matchup where I have Scald to hit for super effective damage, but they're able to hit for super effective damage with Thunder Fang. So not really a matchup that I want to stay in as the Suicune. They fire off the Psychic Fangs. I'm still not at a Scald yet, so I will have to overfarm, or, well, not even necessarily overfarm, just farm extra to get to the Scald to force the shield, and now I switch out into the Malamar. Malamar is going to be met with probably a Breaking Swipe here, and they do get a bit of good luck as they do get the Breaking Swipe debuff. That is a true 50-50 chance. So the coin flip goes my opponent's way, and now I don't think 2 superpowers will be enough to knock out. I'm firing off superpower number 1, opponent unlikely to double shield in this matchup. They've already shielded once, and they are just going to let that through. I really don't want to lose the Malamar. Malamar is just insanely flexible, so I'm actually going to pivot back out into the Suicune, hopefully be able to commit to an Ice Fang farm down. I'm hoping that the Malamar will be able to put in work for me in the endgame, and I do just get the Ice Fang farm down. That is massive. In comes Virizion. Virizion immediately answered with an Ice Beam. Ice Beam will connect, doing some solid damage, but nothing to write home about there. And now, considering I have a Heliolisk in the back, I need to bring back in Malamar. Malamar re-enters the field of play. Opponent is going to be firing off a Leaf Blade, and I will, of course, use the shield here. They actually go for the Sacred Sword. Leaf Blade is the better move to go for here, but realistically, either move is KOing as I'm very low. Superpower is going to connect. In the back is Primeape, and this is honestly not amazing for me. I'm going to go for the Breaking Swipe right away. If they no-shield it, then there's a potential of me farming down, but if they shield it, then there's the threat of me superpowering. I always no-shield here, because if they Rage Fist, then I save a shield. If they close combat and get the KO, then I should be able to KO with a superpower. They're going to go for a Rage Fist, hoping to get a farm down, but Malamar, I just love Malamar so much. XL Malamar is such a beast, putting the team on his back there and getting us the win. We've got the battle of the bulky water types in the next match, Suicune versus the Gastrodon. Now, this is a matchup where we both have some pretty hard-hitting fast moves, but since mine does not get same type attack bonus, unfortunately, it doesn't hit as hard as I might like. Scald is going to connect. I do get the attack drop, which is some good luck for me. There's that Drapion save switch that is always such a nuisance for this line, and I'm more than happy just to tank damage on the Suicune. Crunch is going to land, and I return fire with the Scald. I would love to potentially force a shield from my opponent, but Suicune's lack of attack stat means it's so unthreatening that opponents most of the time just don't really have to respect the Scald. I'm going to send in Heliolisk. Heliolisk is going to be hit with a Crunch, and it does get a defense drop. Realistically, that's not going to impact the game tremendously, as either way, I'm going to get absolutely destroyed by a Gastrodon here shortly. Opponent is going to switch out, however, not risking me potentially getting damage registration error. The Breaking Swipe does not appear to get an attack drop, and now I send in Malamar. Opponent is farming up quite a bit. They farm up to a Nuke plus Brutal Swing double up here. I commit the shield, and they do full send the Play Rough. They are now 1 off the next Play Rough. I fire off the Foul Play. Foul Play is going to be shielded, and I do have another Foul Play loaded here. I try for a Play Rough catch. I'm unsuccessful. My opponent gets the double up once again, and that should mean that I lose this game. I'm very close to 2 moves on the Malamar, but I'm not quite there. And the Gastrodon switched out with an Earth Power plus a Body Slam, which is 9 Mud Slaps of energy. So here, I'm so close to the double up, but not close enough. Very well played to my opponent there. Good energy management throughout, and failing that catch meant that I did not have a win con. We move to the next match. An amazing lead. Suicune into Giratina. Opponent save switches into Feraligatr. And oh my goodness, this is the best possible alignment that I could ask for here. Hard winning the lead. Feraligatr save switch and Heliolisk getting to completely shut it down. I'm firing off the Parabolic Charge. Let's pick up a knockout or force their first shield. I do get the shield. I do not get the defense boost. But again, in this matchup, the defense boost doesn't do a lot for Heliolisk. I will actually have to throw energy here because I was a little bit slow on the counter switch. I believe I did 2 Ice Fangs before switching instead of 1. I'm worried that they could be weak to electric in the back, so I save the Heliolisk and pivot back out into the Suicune. A better play, I think, would have been pivoting into the Malamar, because Malamar has a lot more neutral play across the board than Suicune, but either way, I just wanted to preserve Heliolisk with an ability to potentially make a Breaking Swipe later on. Dragon Claw is going to connect. I'm making it to the Ice Beam, and let's see this damage onto Giratina. Ice Beam from Suicune is going to connect, getting Giratina deep into the red, but I can't get the farm down. I believe, however, that I should live the Dragon Breath to farm down and leave with a Breaking Swipe, so I'm actually going to send in Heliolisk here after a little bit of thought. So I send in Heliolisk in the back. It's a Talonflame. I don't get a Parabolic Charge, but I will still get a Breaking Swipe landed, and I get an attack drop from the Breaking Swipe. The 50-50 goes my way, and at this point, this is just a 1 game. Talonflame is going to go for a Flame Charge, undoing that Breaking Swipe debuff, but yeah, realistically, I had extremely favorable alignment throughout, and Suicune, even though it's not the greatest into Talonflame, since I was up energy, it's very tough to switch in Talonflame when Suicune is up energy. They go for the fly. There, they will do the 4-turn wait to try and go for the catch. That's kind of their only play. So, unfortunately, that was just kind of a hard counter game for my opponent. All right, we move into the next match. Great lead, Suicune into Zygarde. There's a save switch to the Shadow Drapion that, again, has just been giving this team fits time and time again. Crunch is going to connect because I would love to potentially get some chip damage and dip, but you have to stay in for so long as Suicune to get to any move. Now I'm going to bring in the Heliolisk. Heliolisk, I'm more than happy to let this go because I know there's a Zygarde in my future. Crunch is going to connect. I don't think I can quite get the farm down, so I'm forced to fire off the Breaking Swipe when they're at very, very low HP. They are just going to let that through. They're going to send back in the Zygarde. Zygarde is going to be hit with a Breaking Swipe. Now, the question is, can I get to a Breaking Swipe number 2? That would be very clutch here. Heliolisk is very high rank, and it pays off. We get to the Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe is going to connect onto the Zygarde. In comes Suicune. In the back is Feraligatr, and this is actually bad. They were able to successfully lure out the Heliolisk, and now a Feraligatr's here, and I'm in quite a bit of trouble. Malamar can do pretty solidly into Feraligatr, but my biggest issue is this. We both have 2 shields up. The switch clock gets fully burned after 4 charge attacks are thrown, which means that once all shields are down, they could potentially go for a combo play, and if they do get that combo play correct, then I'm going to lose my Malamar. So I will be firing off the foul play. We see the shield from the opponent. And now, this is what it comes down to. Do they switch instantly? I say no. I keep farming, and I get comboed. However, there's still a chance. If Suicune can get the Ice Fang farm down, I think I'm in an okay spot. In comes Suicune. Ice Fang's adding up, but the Zygarde survives. Oh my goodness. Zygarde gets the crunch. They get a defense drop, but realistically, I'm just too low at this point, and I can't do enough damage to Feraligatr. The Suicune-Feraligatr matchup is just atrociously bad. I do get an attack drop, but it's not going to matter. We move to the final match, Suicune into Mandibuzz. Very good lead for the Suicune. I'm able to hit for super effective damage, which is quite nice. Mandibuzz farming up a ton of energy, so I am just going to go for the Ice Beam. The wild thing here is I get to my Ice Beam right around the time they get to 2 Aerial Aces. That's how slow Suicune is. Oh my goodness. They send in Skuntank. I'm going to stay in and go for the Scald because, again, I don't have a hard counter to these Dark Poisons. I do get a lucky Scald attack drop, and I will commit the shield to protect myself against the Trailblaze. They actually go for a Crunch. I'm looking for the farm down, but Skuntank on 1 HP. Oh no, I double shield out of fear of a Trailblaze and they don't have it. They were running Crunch Flamethrower. In comes the Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz, I will be firing off the Scald. Scald is going to connect. Switch to Heliolisk, hoping to snipe them down with a Volt Switch and then permanently Breaking Swipe, debuff whatever's in back, but they live it on 1 HP and it's a Swampert as their final Pokemon. I will be firing off the Breaking Swipe. Opponent, they have 2 shields. They decide to use it here, and I get some good luck. The 50-50 attack drop from Breaking Swipe does go my way. Hydro Cannon will pick up a knockout, but now I can send in Malamar. Malamar, just the absolute MVP of the Ultra League, I swear. I cannot stop running this Pokemon. It is so much fun to use. They will be firing off their energy. They're not doubled up on Hydros yet. They go for an Earthquake that does do a solid amount of damage. I'm farming up, and now I get to go for a Superpower. Superpower does do the same damage as Foul Play. Superpower is going to connect. There's the switch into the Suicune. I get to snipe down the Mandibuzz. In comes the Swampert. They just cannot get to enough moves, and that's a good game. And now some final thoughts on Suicune with its newly buffed move of Ice Fang. One thing that I do want to note is when the Ice Fang buff was announced at the start of the season, this is one of the move updates that I was the most excited to try, Ultra League Suicune. I had played it before when Scald first got buffed, when it was using Snarl as its fast move, and did actually have quite a bit of fun. However, now that I've tried it out with Ice Fang, this might be a little harsh, but I think it's just bad. Well, bad might be a little mean. I guess just mediocre. It is a very bulky Pokemon, which is great, but its pacing, even with the increased energy generation on Ice Fang, the pacing is just absolutely terrible. 18 turns to the first move really feels terrible in a meta where there's Pokemon like XL Drapion and XL Malamar that are so fast. Even though you have all this bulk, you're just continually feeling like you're behind constantly because you're just getting bombarded with charge attack after charge attack. Sometimes Pokemon are doubling up right as you get to your first Scald. And on top of that, I think the fact that now that it runs Ice Fang, its matchups into Pokemon like Tentacruel and Feraligatr just get so much worse that overall, if there's a future ultra limited meta, I think potentially Suicune could have a lot of play, and maybe if you really well support it and you're a very strong player, you will be able to get it to work. But overall, I leave honestly feeling very disappointed. And I feel like that's one of the first changes that I've tried where I have felt really disappointed, but I had really high hopes for Suicune. Its stat product is awesome, but man, that pacing unfortunately kind of kills any momentum that it has. And being a water type that just gets completely dunked on by both Feraligatr and Tentacruel when those are the top 2 water types in the format, I think is just not a Pokemon that's going to see a tremendous amount of Ultra League success. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.